Mets.
I'm dropping stuff.
Hello
No,
and welcome to Nobody Asked. Woo! Let's go Mets! Go Cubs! Go! Etc. Today we are joined. You guys are not going to believe this. We are joined by two special guests who combined have flown around the world a combined 13 times. They've seen various world landmarks, from the Taj Mahal to the Burj Khalifa, to even that giant cheese that's in Wisconsin. They saw that one. We are joined by Lumberjack Maria.
Hello, I don't think I've seen any of those places.
We saw the cheese.
We saw the big ball of twine in Kansas.
Oh, we saw the big ball of twine. You're right. You're right. We saw the big ball of twine. My bad. It says here on my script that we saw the cheese, but that must have been a typo by Wally. Come on, Wally, get it together. And we're also joined by Colin Brink, comedian extraordinaire. How did they get him on the podcast?
I mean, it was a lot of calling and negotiating. Paid a lot of money.
Colin. It's his name. Oh, my goodness.
Waka.
It's Nobody Asked. We're joined today by Barbie. She's our only fan. And man, do we have a show for you. It feels like the first day of summer vacation to me.
Really?
It feels like it does, because it's opening day of baseball, and I'm just ripping. I'm loving some baseball, and we get to talk about my favorite topic, corruption in grant funding. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And more sports, because it's Brett Favre corruption. Ooh, a little Favre corruption. Ooh, golden boy. Not Tom Brady, but a different golden boy. Everyone liked him. Everyone liked the old Brett Favre. Maybe not as much as Peyton Manning.
Until they didn't.
Until they didn't. Oh, how they like to see the mighty fall. There will be no eyebrows on today's podcast. Thank you to Susie B. Pineapple Yates for joining, as well as Barbie. So we are joined by a fruit, a cat, and a real human woman. And we'll be talking about the corruption case in Mississippi.
I'm just picturing them all sitting on the same couch together, hugging.
That's beautiful. If somebody would like to embroider that for us, that would be nice. And look at us. We're trying a new little format. Barbie rushing me through the process, by the way. Lately, Barbie is unstoppable, okay? We're 3 minutes and 43 seconds into the show, and 1 minute of that was a Mets song. And yet, we're already asking for the sponsor. Well, you're going to have to wait, Barbie, because my mom wants to talk about her week.
Oh. Okay.
I'm just kidding. Today's episode is, I haven't done that in months. Today's episode is sponsored by the fucking Mets, baby. Whoa, the Mets. Okay, here's what we got. We got 3 pitches, 2 of them new. Goodness fucking gracious. Justin Verlander, the old, what's his voice? Justin Verlander, the Cy Young winner from the American League. He's coming over to the National League. He's going to throw a bunch of balls. Nobody's going to hit him. Then we've got Max Scherzer. He's fucking crazy. And then Kodai Senga. He doesn't speak English, but he does speak friggin' fork balls. Oh, you think you see him? Ghost. They're gone. He calls it a ghost fork ball. He's Japanese, you know. We let him call things ghosts. And we've got an incredible lineup. Brandon Nimmo, the friggin' polar bear, Pete Alonso, Frankie Lindor, and then 6 others whose names I do it, Omar Narvaez and some others. Oh my goodness, it's going to be an incredible year for the Mets. Today's episode is sponsored by the Mets. You didn't believe they would sponsor the podcast. but they did. Let's go. Let's go, Mets.
Apparently, Susie B's mom used to work at the Mets.
Oh, Shea Stadium, the home of the Mets. Now it's the MetLife Stadium. What's up with that? MetLife. I met her. I didn't love her. Whoa! And the Mets and the Big Apple, and they're swinging the balls, and the balls are flying out of the freaking place. And they're going to go to the playoffs, and they're going to leave in the first round. But for 6 months, we're all going to believe. Let's go, Mets. I also like the Cubs. So I guess next week we'll be sponsored by the Cubs. Oh, and how do you like 2 National League teams? It's complicated. Hey.
You also really like minor league baseball, so, you know.
Oh, I love minor league baseball. Today's episode is also sponsored by minor league baseball. Hey, do you guys want to see players that are almost as talented as major league players, but for a fraction of the price, and you can be right behind them, and you'll say things, and they'll look at you, and they'll smile, and then next year, they're on a major league roster. You're like, I freaking saw that guy for no money. Minor league baseball. Oh, my God, their logos are so much better.
Yeah.
And why else are you going to a baseball game if not for the logos? Okay. Oh, Major League, it's all letters. All letters in the major leagues. What are they doing? No,
fancy
it's
scripts,
leagues.
yes.
It's animals and ideas. Ideas with baseball bats. It's incredible. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. And personified, get this, okay? Personified bits of clothing, okay? The Augusta Green Jackets, right? Oh. Named after the Masters golfing competition, where you get a green jacket if you win the Masters. Tiger Woods, he's got many of them, right? And they got a minor league team in Augusta, so they name them after the Green Jackets. Oh, what's our logo going to be? Is it going to be a jacket with a baseball bat? No. It's a green-yellow jacket. Mind blown. You wouldn't believe it.
Whoa.
We got like the arbors, the fucking trees with bats. Look, all kinds of. There's so many teams. They're running out of things to name them after. Like,
right? Aren't there some s'mores or something? Some campfires? The s'mores? Vampires.
There's flying squirrels. I'm trying to name of other. There's lug nuts. Lug nuts. Not to be mixed up with the Modesto Nuts, which are another team. We got Shuckers in Biloxi. They're friggin', they're clams, oysters, clams. You're like, whoa, we're freaking rooting for a freaking clam? No. We're rooting for the thing you do to get the oyster out of the oyster. You shuck them.
But then when you go and you see their mascot, and there's three different mascots.
Yeah.
And none of them are clams.
Are in action. Hello, Ashley.
There's a cob of corn. There's a potato. There's a potato.
Whoa. What's going on over here? And then you won't believe this with the minor leagues, okay? You look at the minor leagues, you're like, oh my God, so many logos. They're flying past me all left and right? And then they have special days. They're just like, well, bringing out new logos, okay? Today we're fucking Mexican, okay? Oh my God, so many Mexican days, and they're so racial. These logos. But I mean, what are you gonna do? Half of the league is Dominican, a Venezuelan, a Cuban, a Mexican, right? So they're clearly cool with it. But man, you're like, oh, the fucking corn cob one, suddenly they're the elote, okay? Oh, very nice, right? The bees, the Salt Lake Bees, I think that they become a concept. They become like a holiday. They're like the Salt Lake Cinco de Mayos. And you're like, okay, we're rooting for every May the 5th. All right. This batter up here, he's 2007. Wasn't that an incredible Cinco de Mayo? So, man, the minor leagues are incredible. You gotta go see some minor leagues. You've got to see them. They're so good. Some of them not so good at the base, but some of them are so good. So we're having a good time. This episode is also sponsored by the minor leagues. Holy.
That's beautiful.
Man, yeah, don't get me fucking started on minor leagues. Guys, I love baseball. I don't know if you can tell. I love it. It's a good time. Little America, little Japan, little Cuba. What are you going to do? And so, man, you gotta love some baseball. And today we're going to talk about corruption. So, Mom, what's going on in your life this week?
This week, it rained, and so that large puddle situation got much bigger, and
Nice.
2 toads climbed in there atop each other, and then they squirted out strings and strings of eggs.
Oh God!
They come out in long strings.
Didn't like that combination of words.
But that's what happened.
Strings and strings.
Some of them were spiral strings, but there was some spirals.
Ooh, spiral string.
And then some were just long straight strings. And then like a couple days later, they hatched. So there's like tadpoles everywhere.
Nice
tadpoles. But also, I witnessed the other part, so it was like I'm watching the whole circle of life situation.
The spiral of life in some.
The spiral string of life.
Wow, eventful week for you.
I mean, it's more exciting than I'd like to admit. I keep going out there and checking.
That reminds me of, you remember on TikTok that like absolute monster that found frog spawn, found it and then made it like fed it so that he could just create an absolute horde of toads or frogs, and he ended up getting sued by his neighbors. Because
they all lived, right? You gotta let them get picked off or starve or whatever.
But he like protected them and made sure, man, frogs are not going to be endangered. You know, them shits, you can repopulate frogs. Okay. If there's like 4 of them left, you can have like 10,000 next year.
You might be able to just do it with one. I'm not sure, but maybe.
They're not leaving. Whoa. They're like rabbits. That's cool. Anything else other than frogs fucking?
They were toads, but okay. No, how do you know the difference? I mean, aside from I actually witnessed it, so you know the bumpy ones are the toads and the smooth ones are the frogs.
I thought you could just ask them.
I don't know if that would work. I don't know what they'd say. But the other way is, again, I just told you that they came out in strings, and some of them were spiral strings, right? That's how you know they're toads. Frogs lay eggs in big clumps. These were not clumps. These were long, stringy strings of eggs. So, toads.
All right. How nice. We have very few toads over here. We have a lot of turtles, or maybe tortoises. Turtles. You know, what's the deal? Hey, guys, what's the deal with these animals that have 2 of them and they're different, but you don't know, right? Bison and buffalo, toads and frogs, alligators and crocodiles, turtles and tortoises. What? Well, you know?
Some of those are more similar than others.
Like what?
Well, let's see. A frog and a toad, like a toad does not really hang out in the water. Yes, they spawn in the water, but they generally aren't in the water. They like to be dry. Where a frog is perfectly happy to be wet.
Tadpoles, right?
But they still have tadpoles, so that part's similar, right? And then if we're talking about tortoises and toads, it's similar. Like a turtle likes to be in the water, where a tortoise not so much. That's a land animal. There's been a couple of turtles wandering around here lately. Pretty cute.
Yeah. Well, these must be turtles then, because they all hang out by the pond that is in the park near me. Ashley says, "Do toads actually cause warts?"
It's a good question. Perhaps they do. You know, because aren't warts caused by some sort of a what's the word? It's not a fungus necessarily, but it's something in, you know, one of those types of things. And it's very possible that whatever that is that causes warts is present on toads. But also,
warts are not caused by touching toads. However, toads can irritate human skin.
Well, there you
go.
So,
a wart is a specific kind of irritation, which occurs when a human virus comes in contact with skin and causes an infection.
So it's a virus. A wart's a virus?
The irritation, it is. The irritation to human skin that happens from touching a toad is not a wart.
Good to know. But armadillos, don't touch those, because apparently they carry leprosy. Yeah.
Only 2 animals can carry leprosy. Do you know what those animals are?
Are they humans and armadillos?
You're correct. Ding, ding, ding. Car. Very cool.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on this week. That's what's happened so far. Ooh, do you want to know what's going to go on?
What?
Saturday, me and your Aunt Marlene are going to go to New Orleans, and we're going to go to the Irish Italian parade, and they throw cabbages and carrots and various vegetables at you, and I'm all about it.
That sounds fun. That sounds pretty awesome. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm gonna hang out with some of Ellie's, like one of Ellie's cousins, and her uncle Mike, who's like the best uncle. He's so nice. He wrote a book about his year, and got it made into a hardcover, and I read the whole thing before I ever met him, and I just feel so close to him.
Wear a helmet.
Wear a helmet, says Barbie. So yes, that is happening. Gonna go make some dinner with some friends on Saturday. Thinking about going and seeing a Columbia baseball game because they might win the Ivy League this year. And my friend group is slowly catching fire. So that's really cool.
It happens.
It's really cool. You know, I think we jinxed it. You know, we met these people years ago, and every cohort at Columbia of neuro students just so dramatic, and there's so many shitheads in them, right? And and everyone hates their cohort, and they'll hang out with a couple, but no one likes their whole cohort. And Ellie's cohort, man, all of them, we were like, damn, these are a good cohort, you know? And nope. Took a second, but took a hot minute, but now your boy's got beef. And he's not allowed, he's not allowed to carry out his beef in the way that he usually would, because it's not his beef to articulate, and I'm not used to needing to,
temper your response.
Temper my response, because usually people are fucking with me for some reason. So then I can be like, whoa, and get all out of hand. And that's some of my favorite shit to do. But here I've got to be understanding of people's things. I'm like, all right. Then it's not fun. And I love drama. And here, here's the thing. I do love drama, but it's just like there's a hard cutoff. There's a point at which you're like, oh, this drama's hurting people. And you're like, ugh, this drama sucks now, right? I want dumb drama. I want did you hear that Kathy and Michelangelo were flirting with the same guy? And they were both trying to say no, you can have him. And then one went away and the other one said yes. And I'm like, yes, give me all that. This is so dumb. Give it to me, right? But then sometimes there's some drama where you're like, did you hear that relationships have been irrevocably broken and people have crossed lines you should never cross? And now somebody will have a permanent trauma that just, they can't trust anymore. And somebody else is dealing with deep-seated issues related to their father. And these two people are at odds. And there's one person that's clearly right. And that's not the person who you do stand-up comedy with. Great.
Oh, no.
And he's so talented. Why are the talented ones always dealing with shit with their father badly?
That's a good question.
I think I'd be funnier if Dad was not a good person, but no, he's understanding. He supports my little nonsense. He's great to call. He's just a good guy. What did you do, Mom? Okay. Should have married.
Sorry, I picked a good guy.
I married that freaking Mormon prick from A school. Okay.
Ew.
Oh yeah. Imagine me growing up Mormon. Oh my goodness, I'd be so funny. Unbelievable, Mom. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen, because I probably would have, been hospitalized, because I would have jumped out of moving vehicles and stuff. Because
yes.
He was the kind of person I wanted to jump more than once. Really thought about what a road rash would feel like at different speeds. so
there are really people on this earth like that. I have not dated a whole lot of people that I want to give myself road rash over. And I've dated plenty of people where I'm like, you're not my favorite anymore. But never quite there. Lots of, relatives where I'm like, oh.
You don't have to deal with them constantly, so you're good.
No. Hello, Wendy. No, you don't have to deal with them constantly. And eventually you learn things about them and things get better. Life is a highway. and I want to ride it all night long.
Yeah.
Why do you only want to drive at night?
I don't.
It's the worst time to drive. The headlights, they hurt your brain.
Same.
What's going on with Brett Favre? 20 minutes into this podcast. That's how good at filling time we are. And we only lost one viewer.
Great. Filling time. Oh, wait. No, Brett Favre. Brett Favre.
Brett Favre.
Hey, man. Brett Favre is apparently from Mississippi. In case you were wondering. He went to the old University of Southern Mississippi, and he feels a great deal of love for it still.
An acclaimed institution. An incredible... The Ivy League of Mississippi. It's got a 96% acceptance rate and a 53% graduation rate.
Those are interesting numbers.
Yes, some would call them bad, but who's to say?
Well, he still loves loves his alma mater,
which is his right.
Which is his right. And his daughter goes there, and he thought, what would be great is if I could raise some money to make this experience even better for her. And let's make a new volleyball facility for my daughter, and to show the love and be like, hey man, Brett Favre got this thing for you. And so, he does what people do. He does his wiggle and his shake. He meets with movers and shakers. He elbows them, and he starts really kind of pressuring people. He's like, hey man, don't you want to put money in this? Don't you want to put money in this? Don't you want to put money? And he starts talking to the old governor, right? The old governor of Mississippi. His name is John Davis. No, that's not his name. I lied. His name is Phil Bryant.
Both names that it sounds like an AI generated. Very good.
Yes. And, he's like, yeah, can you get us some money? Maybe I can hook you up with some other people that you might find interesting that you might be able to, we can do some stuff. I got this pharmaceutical company that I'm investing in. Maybe you share some money with them. We all share some money with each other. And, maybe you can get some stock in this company for free. It's a lot of, rubbing elbows, whatever.
Oh shit. Stop the presses, everybody. Your boy just got a notification. A grand jury in New York has voted to indict Donald Trump over his role in a hush money payment to porn star, according to 4 people. We're indicting the boy. Let's go. I am so indicted. Oh my God. I've got to go to prison. Woo! Let's go, Mets. Okay.
So wait, it's finally, the indictment's happened. That doesn't mean he's not been arrested. He hasn't turned himself into the police or anything.
No, but that's gonna happen.
The indictment has happened. Okay, and while we're sidetracked on that, I just want to say I normally would not care if he gave hush money to a porn star. It's not interesting. I don't care. I don't feel like it's criminal. But the issue is that he used campaign. Yeah, he used campaign finance money. That's the issue, is that's campaign finance money. And that is strictly regulated. He is definitely not the first person to get in trouble for that. So, interesting.
His lawyer got in trouble for it a while ago. Yeah. And he just jumped ship with that lawyer. Yeah. Of all the things for Trump to get arrested for, this is maybe, is it the most infuriating? I don't know. The documents were also a little bit annoying, I'll say. The things where the most headway has been made in prosecuting Trump are some of the most annoying areas. Because you're like, really? But it's like, it's like getting OJ on his fucking stealing his memorabilia back, right? Mm-hmm. It's that nonsense. Or getting Al Capone on tax evasion. It's like, there's someone we've just got to get. And then you're like, well, you cannot put a case together for most of these things, but goddamn, did he really try to hush porn star Stormy Daniels
with campaign finance money?
Campaign finance money. So,
and that indictment is happening in New York, right? So this is not a federal suit.
Yep.
This
is.
God,
I gotta text Ellie to come home. I just remembered I live here. Trump indicted, maybe have dinner near here. Cool.
I see now.
There were trash cans on fire that Tuesday that Trump said he was going to get indicted. And there were like the percolations of a protest And, these Trump guys, they're crazy. So I think they probably took longer in order to avoid things being able to be planned quickly, but I'm still a little bit like, let's see how things pan on the old island of Manhattan. I don't live near the court building, nor do I live near Trump Tower, so probably fine. But
still,
it
makes you nervous after what you saw on Tuesday when he was supposed to be indicted.
Yeah, and there
was a weirdness.
That was still tame, but yeah, the island felt a little bit like everyone's like, what the fuck is about to happen? And so you were just a little bit like, to avoid travel, because at the same day, Trump is holding a campaign rally where he's showing video of January 6th and being like, we're real patriots. You're like, oh, go. So, he's completely embraced January 6th. It's not like he had completely let go of it, but now he's using it to campaign. So, not chill is what I'd say. But yeah, I've just I felt this way on election day too, and the day that Joe Biden was certified as winning. So
I was in Mississippi that day.
Siren starting. The day has also been weird for that. There's been some weird, let's be real, sirens they're around here, but there's been a lot of 4 sirens at the same time, and then cars honking on the way down. I'm like, what the hell's going on out there? I look out the window, looks totally normal. Yeah. I felt this way with the day that Biden got elected too, where I was like, there's just a certain living in Manhattan where you're like, let's just pump the brakes, see how things feel, and then celebrate.
No big plans today. We're just going to feel it out. Okay.
Lots of soft targets. Okay. That's all I'm saying. Now, shit's like that. There's a lot of fucking cops, but also those cops did not look very happy on the day that my good friend Biden got elected. Okay? Look, I was out there. Okay. Cops, they're trying to make sure that they're keeping the peace. Firemen. Oh my God. Okay. We were celebrating in this roundabout that's by Central Park. Sorry, Brett Favre, by the way, for distracting from your shame. We were a big group of people, the top left corner of Central Park, that's this roundabout, a big group of people celebrating Joe Biden winning in 2021. And there's champagne out, and people are smonk and donk. Good vibes. People are partying. People have mics out. People are dancing. And this fire truck comes around the roundabout, and just the most New York fireman looking people you've ever seen. I mean, they've got a Yankees tattoo on their shoulder type firemen with the mustaches and the sunglasses and the who's the guy from Blue Bloods? Tom Selleck. Bunch of Tom Selleck looking motherfuckers in this fire truck, just staring at the people partying in the roundabout, so angry. And we were like, oh, I don't think you like what happened. Wow.
Give me your addresses. I'm not going to put the fires out at your house.
I'm refusing to serve. Man. Yeah, man. Trump got indicted. God damn, I can't believe it. I cannot believe it.
You're crazy. Totally derailed. When I feel like we could make a connection because it's the same. I mean, it's not the same, but it's the same. It's a similar situation.
Yeah, fucking Brett Favre.
Brett Favre. But you know what? In Mississippi, he's a celebrity. He's a big deal. Hometown boy did good for a while, and now he's doing not so good. So
and he did really represent. He was lovable, and Mississippi gets a lot of bad press from me. And so it's just so when you got a Brett Favre, you just kind of want to hold on to him. And this is depressing. Everything that's going on with Brett Favre. I can bring it back.
Okay. So if we go back to 1996, we're going to go back to 1996. So that's when they changed the welfare rules. You used to be able to, if you were a poor person, you used to be able to get money directly, your welfare check, as they used to call it back in the day. And of course, you had these images these propaganda style images of the welfare queen who was just having babies in order to get more money for welfare. All of these like really terrible images of what a person on welfare is about, when that's just not the reality. Of course, there's always people that will abuse the system, as we find out today talking about Brett Favre and various other people. But we put our eyes on the wrong thing a lot of times. So in 1996, they kind of changed the rules and they created the Temporary Assistance for the Needy Family Program, or TANF. And it had 4 main dictates. It wanted to assist families that had kids to keep their families to be able to keep the children in the home. It wanted to give job preparations, work, and sort of marriage counseling, all of those things. And let's see, the third thing was prevent out of wedlock pregnancies. And the fourth thing was to maintain 2-family households, 2-parent families. So you can see that they have this real situation that they're saying a nuclear family is what's good for the poor. You need to be married if you're going to have kids, because of, again, the welfare queen image, which is a Black woman with no husband who is just having babies to take from the government, which is a ridiculous notion. But you can see it in these 1996 rules. And then, so now they're calling it, it's a federal program that provides grant funds to states. So we give the money to the states, and then the states will then dictate how they're going to help families with children so that they can be more self-sufficient with training programs, employment assistance, childcare, transportation, and expenses is what the hope is.
Yep.
Oh, yay, Wendy.
EH says, I've worked for the welfare office in 2 different counties in California, so this topic excites me, colon parentheses. So that's pretty cool.
Well, we are not experts in that, so if we get it wrong, we apologize. This is we're doing it
wrong. Come on the show, Wendy. Send you a link. It'll be good. I'm gonna be right back.
Okay, so it starts off. So it's federal grant money, and then it's given to the states. And then what the states would do is, or Mississippi in particular, I don't know if each state does it exactly the same, but the way that Mississippi would do it is that the money would then go to the Mississippi Department of Human Services. And what they were doing is they basically awarded that money to 2 different charities, and those charities were then responsible for dispersing the funds to do those things, to do with job training, employment assistance, all of that stuff. This is what those 2 charities were responsible for. They're basically acting as government contractors to the Mississippi Department of Human Services. So the big one that we're going to talk about today, I'm going to tell you that they both are, we're up to shenanigans with the big one that's attached to Brett Favre. They're called the Mississippi Community Education Center, which doesn't sound necessarily like a charity, but it is. And it's run by this woman named Nancy New and her son, Zach. It is a nonprofit, and they say that they're promoting improvement and expansion of community education through training seminars, consulting, and technical assistance. Okay. Okay. So it's been funneled to them. And then from there, what was happening was money was then they were being kicked back to the director of the Mississippi Department of Human Services. His name was John Davis. And so this Mississippi Community, I don't know, MCEC, we're just going to call it that. They were giving money to John Davis's nephew for, he said they gave him $400,000 to start a coding program, but he doesn't know anything about coding, and he didn't do anything. But let's give him, $400,000. Then it was also given to, again, that same guy, John Davis's brother-in-law. They gave him $600,000. So that's $1 million altogether, right there, $1 million right there for some mystery job and some non-existent office space that he was allegedly leasing.
Yep.
But so that was what was happening, is they were just sort of making stuff up that sounded like it would fit the criteria of what these grants were for. They just make it up and then just kind of give the money to people.
which is kind of, I mean, that they are constantly trying to combat corruption in these federal grant opportunities, you can tell. So I work as a grant writer, and I work with a number of these federal grant opportunities. Some of them that have recently been formed, like RAISE, which is from the bipartisan infrastructure bill from Joe Biden. So that's an example of them starting one just recently. And you can tell that they put all of these stop measures in place in order to prevent exactly stuff like this from happening, because so many people apply for money and there's so many moving parts that strict oversight at a federal level becomes prohibitively expensive, and congressmen don't want to pay for it. So something that Mississippi likes to do, a lot of states do it, but Mississippi, you can tell if you read through their bills, they love to do is they love to form these subcommittees which are responsible for some sort of dispersion of the money. And they'll assign these percentages, and some of them will get much more vague than the actual grant that the money's been taken from. And I think that's where the corruption comes from. There's a couple of, there's a couple that I'm familiar with in Mississippi where it does feel like exactly that has been happening in recent years.
Not saying that you've ever worked on any Mississippi grants. We're not saying that.
But that all I'm saying is that if you read these bills, they just love to form these little committees. And then it's very interesting, the people that get on these committees. And you'll notice, if you know people that know people, that everyone knows the people on these committees and they're friends of certain lobbyists. And then they just don't disclose who gets certain grants. And you're like, democracy dies in darkness, Washington Post motto. So this is the vibe in Mississippi. But this case in particular is the largest corruption case in Mississippi history.
It is.
Oh, whoa.
It is, because by the time you start adding up all of the players, because again, we're giving it to all these different things. That was $1 million there, but really we're talking about 77 million at the end of the day that has been misappropriated from 2017 to 2020. So that's 3 years that they've managed to squander away $77 million. So I just told you $1 million. There was also a former college football player who basically had his mortgage paid, $371, not that expensive, for a 15-acre spread with a house and a pool and acreage for horses. He was saying that he wants to make this an equestrian, activities for underprivileged kids. No indication that happened, but his mortgage is paid. There's some other big players that are some professional wrestlers. One of them was called the $1 Million Man. That's Ted DiBiase and his sons, Ted Jr. and Brett, who are also wrestlers. And they had a Christian charity that was called Hearts of David that they used $1.7 million was given to. And that was somehow also involved with Brett Favre. Like, all of this is connected in some weird way. But they were given money. Oh my gosh. Let's see. $3 million to create some dummy companies that money would get funneled through. And they would say it was for leadership training for inner city kids. There's no indication that happened. And then they also paid Brett, I think that's I don't know, maybe it's $160,000. I got a little scrabbly to go to rehab. He was in rehab for 4 months, and they paid for it through this grant fund for this not poor person, under the guise of saying, well, we just want to see how they run their facilities so that we can copy the model that we can then use in our own programs.
That is so bad. That is, and then this is so. Just speaking from my own experience here, the equestrian Center for Underprivileged Kids strikes a particular chord, because I have been on the hook to raise money for certain people that I'm no longer employed to do this for. That so many grants are for the underprivileged for obvious reasons, and so they'll often ask for two things, which is proof of sustainability, either environmental sustainability or that this program will still have effects after the money is distributed. And then they'll ask for, how are you attempting to use this money to serve underprivileged kids? And the problem is that the people that are looking for money are not usually designing projects for the grant. They have something they want to raise money for, and they're looking for somebody to say, yeah, we can make this grant fit. And so oftentimes they will just say, well, can we say that it'll be available to kids like this, right? But they'll never actually try and do any outreach on the basis of economic disadvantage or being from a disadvantaged community or census tracts or anything, right? Can't we say it will be available to them? And so that's how it helps. And that turns into like, it'll be targeted towards them. And it's just a game. It's just a game of how much yes manning does the grant writer want to do to the person that's paying them. Because the person that's paying them wants money. And you can write a stronger grant by lying, which I didn't do. And I'm no longer employed by them. So, see where the incentives are there. But TANF money is federal, by the way, not state funded. Not sure if you mentioned that yet. Sorry if it's repeat info. Yeah, that's correct. But states will form organizations through which the money is either distributed or used.
Exactly.
And that's often what Mississippi does. So in a lot of grant writing, you'll find that there's some significant dishonesty. And so some organizations will take great pains to make sure that the project they're funding is the project that happens. But then there are some entities that are known to kind of give you the money and then be like, bye-bye. And
we did our due diligence. We read your grant.
Well, yeah. And they get a tax deduction and they don't want to fucking work. And so those are the ones where you'll find some other institutions are getting grants for things. And you're like, where is this program? I can't find a website for it. And they're beating you for your actual program that exists. And you're like, oh, very cool. So
yeah,
it's a cool place to work in.
It is interesting.
Until you work in like state grants for infrastructure. And then it's like, there's no corruption at all because no projects are interesting. No one's like, yes, I really want to repave my road. I'm going to use this road funding for a better road in front of my road. No one cares. So those ones are more fun.
So let's see. Where are we at? Let me see. Okay. So in 2016, Mississippi starts this new initiative, and I wrote so small. It's an anti-poverty program called Family First for Mississippi. And they want to kind of really do a better job of taking care of the poor. This is the concept, right? And so they lean hard on the Mississippi Department of Human Services to let's get this going. And that's at the time period that they have given this. They have funneled this down. They have contracted to the Mississippi Community Education Center and said, let's start doing stuff. Let's really start using this money. Now, that's in 2017. That's when Brett Favre suddenly pops onto the scene. And he talks to the governor and he's like, man, I'd like some money for this volleyball facility over here in at the University of Southern Mississippi. And he gets a little bit of pushback from the governor. The governor's like, well, you can't really use this money for this purpose. You're not supposed to be building with it. It's not for building brick and mortar structures. So what they do is they kind of lie, just as you're talking about. This is the project we want to do. We want to make it fit, even though it doesn't fit. So we're going to say we're leasing it. It's a lease, even though we're building a whole facility. But that's what we're saying. We're going to lease it. And we're going to say, hey, this is going to enrich the community because, the poor people will come and watch the games. So that was somehow the rationale. And so they got $5 million for that project. And along the way, some of the agreements that Brett Favre made with that nonprofit were to do some speaking engagements that he would be paid for. So during one of the engagements that I'm going to call them engagements. They didn't happen. He got paid $500,000 and the other one was $600,000. So that's $1.1 million that this nonprofit has given him to do speaking engagements. Now he claims that he's done some commercials for them and that was what he was getting paid for.
Why didn't he just fucking do speaking engagement? This is what is crazy about the friggin' hubris of corruption, is that there are such obvious steps you can take if you know you're doing something fucked up. Go speak. Speaker fees are crazy.
Yep.
They've always been crazy, and they've always been a breeding ground for corruption. But you didn't even speak?
No.
Well, Icarus, what are you doing?
Yep. But allegedly he filmed some commercials for the nonprofits, allegedly. But again, all along the way, we've got all of these little side deals going on where we've got money from that nonprofit that, again, is getting money from the welfare system, from the, TANF, is getting it from there. Somehow we're giving it to this pharmaceutical startup, which I'm not sure how they're rationalizing that money. It doesn't make a lick of sense to me. But they got like $2.15 million for something.
Was that the concussion drug?
That's what it was, the concussion drug. What does the concussion drug have to do with getting children out of poverty, giving people job opportunities?
Yep, giving installments of money for people that are in crisis, or helping them get in contact with things that help them get out of an economic crisis. That's another field where there are a lot of grants, and anything can be spun as being economically advantageous to somebody if you've got a good enough spinster. So, concussions, football is disproportionately played by poor Black students, and the impact of concussions is known to decrease lifespans and is known to have negative effects on downstream job opportunities, decreasing the financial leverage of underprivileged populations that partake in the sport. We propose that this concussion drug could prevent those sort of downstream losses and allow low-income people to still partake in a game, which is core to an American set of values, without compromising their long-term economic viability. Bang! It's your boy, grant writer Colin Wasserman. So,
and that's how they do it.
And it is how they do it. And if you refuse to do it, they're just like, everything is economic. Everything does economic impacts and are good. And if the economy is better, then the poor are better. So write this grant for me, Squire. Okay, I will.
Yep, absolutely.
Fucking
somehow Brett Favre was able to get that money for the volleyball facility. So then, 2019 rolls around and he's like, you know what I think would be really good for the University of Southern Mississippi is we need Deion Sanders' son, who is a great quarterback who's coming up. We want to attract him to this college. I saw him looking around the facility and saying, there's no indoor football practice area. So could we get some more of that money to lure him to the University of Southern Mississippi? So he tries to get more money to do the same thing. And that's again where the governor pushes back again. So there's some indication, listen, the governor is all up in this. He really is, but he has not been indicted. And there's some indication that he might be the whistleblower or be partaking in the whistleblowing in some manner. So
that's spicy.
It is spicy. But, the auditor that's doing the investigation also used to work on the governor's campaign. So he might not really want to.
That is so fucking Mississippi. That is so Mississippi. It's crazy. You're telling me the person that's overseeing the corruption is connected directly to somebody involved in the fucking corruption? That is so Mississippi. It's crazy, dude. Holy shit. And that all the oversight of all their programs, you're like, oh yeah, the overseer is fucking the wife of the person that needs to be overseen. Very cool. Very cool. Oh, and they're the only two people that can see where the investments are made. I wonder why everyone's impoverished here.
Yep.
Poorest state in the country. What we're talking about taking advantage of right now.
Oh, but you don't even know. Like, okay, during this time, okay, let's go. It's 2017. So 2017 is the year that Favre got the money for that stadium, for that, not stadium, the volleyball facility. That year, 1.42% of applicants were approved for assistance. So actual poor people that needed help, 1.42% in Mississippi. So that was 167 people out of the 11,717 applicants were approved. It's astronomically low.
What?
It's disgustingly low. When you know how much when you know how much money is put into that fund for Mississippi, and know that that's the number that get approved and that's the number that applied. And then you just walk down the street down here and you're like, all of you people need help. You all need help. They can't get the help. It's being stolen by people that do not need it. They do not need it to fund whatever things that they want to fund to suit their needs, that they have found, a slush fund in the fact that there's not enough oversight from the federal government that is giving this money to the states to then use as they see fit to help families with children who are impoverished.
That is insane. That 167 people in Mississippi would receive that sort of support. I mean, that just walking around Mississippi, you'll see 200 people and you'll see 167 that deserve support. But the problem is that it's a state of people that need support that don't believe they deserve it, because they have fallen into the meritocracy, this like the salesmanship of the meritocracy, and this idea that those that are rich deserved it, even though it's a state where the concept of old money is still alive and well.
Very
they still believe the people that are doing well deserved it. The people that are doing poor just aren't working hard enough, and yet they are poor. And you're like, do you feel like you're not working hard enough? What? It's such a depressing place, dude, with the fucking gambling addiction and the opioid addiction and the obesity, and there's no food. There's no food in this place. You live in like the second bougiest place in the state, and yet still you're like, yeesh. So, and they're voting that they vote against their own interests, and it's like, look, I sound like a Republican here because it's like, oh, the Democrat, I guess they'll just vote in another Democrat after this corruption scandal. That's what the Republicans say. But hey, man, at least the poor people here in New York have the decency to know they're being fucked. Okay? You guys have convinced yourselves that you're being fucked because of yourselves. And you kind of are, but only because of how you vote.
Yeah, and just as you said, we have everybody is connected to everybody is connected to everybody. So just in the same way that, just like you said, the oversight is by people that know each other. And yeah, the auditor happened to very much know the governor. So I do want to say that in, 2021, auditor's office said that Brett Favre illegally received that money and that he should have known better, right? He should have known better when he took that 1.1 million in particular. And so he did pay that money back, but they continued to charge him for it and saying, well, you haven't paid the interest back. It was like $228,000 in interest. But Brett Favre says, well, I paid taxes on it. So.
Yeah, that's dumb. Brett Favre is like an absurd idiot in this and is taking advantage of the welfare state, and he's a welfare queen and all that, but he didn't enter into an interest agreement, so give me a fucking break.
Yeah, Well, I mean, so now they've kind of set that aside, right? The idea, since he did pay back that $1.1 million, because he, at that point, he claimed, "Oh, I didn't know that it came out of that fund." That's what he claimed, right? Even though, so they've been releasing a bunch of text messages. I think you can see a lot of them on Twitter. Shad White, the auditor, has definitely put some of them out there, and you can tell that he does know where that money is coming from. He does know, and he's trying to cover his ass a lot of times. You know, like, hey, can we get around this loophole by saying this? Does that cover it? Like, the fact that you know there's a loophole means you know where the money's coming from. So the
guys
Mississippi
have Zoom calls about your corruption. What are you guys doing? Texting about this shit. I'm in a position where almost nothing I do is even touches like, oh, well, this could be a little sketchy, right? And yet, even then, it's a Zoom call where you don't email someone and be like, hey, are we being corrupt right now? You go, whoa, dude. Holy shit. What, you trying to make a paper trail right here, you fucking snitch? What are you doing?
But they don't, because they all know each other and are friends and are like, literally their wives are best friends. Let me send, oh, you don't have anything to wear on vacation? Governor's wife, here, I have a whole bunch of outfits. Let me send them over. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're literally friends. So
No, yeah, totally. But yeah, I'm not saying that your friend is going to snitch on you. I'm saying these things can be subpoenaed. If you're rich, you know lawyers, you know.
Yeah.
I'll forgive people that are not friends with lawyers who like talk to cops at traffic stops, right? You don't know better. But when you're Brett Favre rich and you're leaving a paper trail, what the fuck are we doing?
I don't
it's
know.
the idiocy.
I don't
It's
know.
that, I mean, there's the corruption and the evil, but it combined with idiocy, you're like, whoa. If you're going to be a piece of shit, at least be smart about it, you know? Respect the game.
Yeah. So I believe when a new governor came in place and there was some change of command in the Mississippi Department of Human Services, that's when suddenly somebody's really looking at this stuff and going, something ain't right here. Yep. And they kind of shut the money off for a while. And suddenly everybody's like, what's happening? Who's turned code? Who's done this? Who's done that? Right? All of this stuff's happening. And in the long, what ends up happening is the Nancy New and her son, Zach, who run that charity that all of the money was getting filtered through, they end up getting indicted, and they end up taking a plea agreement so that they don't go to jail for bribery, fraud, wire fraud, and racketeering. They were accused of embezzling, I think, $4 million, which, I mean, a lot more money went through them than that, but that's what the embezzlement part was for. But so that's what they ended up pleading for. That's what they could very easily prove, I guess, money going in through. They had some sort of a private school that they were funneling money into. And so they felt like all of these other people were involved that were much higher up. I mean, the director of the actual Mississippi Department of Human Services was very, very corrupt and very involved. Why is he not getting indicted? I mean, he did too, but eventually. What about the governor? What about all of these other people? We're being made to be the scapegoat and the villain so all these higher up people, you know, can just walk away. You know, somebody's paying for it. They're making us pay for it. And Brett Favre feels the exact same way and has said similarly. So in 2022, the Mississippi Department of Human Services filed a civil suit now against 38 defendants, and that included Favre, to recover the funds. That's the goal. They want to recover this money. So they already got the 1.1 from Favre, but they want that 5 million at this point. That's why Favre is still a part of it, because they're like, well, you orchestrated all that 5 million for the volleyball facility. You knew what was going on. You know, you're the in-between. You're the goat. You're the person that brought the money in. Yep. And February of this year, just to keep it interesting, Brett Favre filed a defamation lawsuit against
Pat McAfee, Shannon Sharp, and
the auditor, Shad White, because he says Shad White has he has orchestrated an outrageous media campaign of malicious and false accusations. And listen, Shad White's like, you mean I put the truth out there? That's basically what it is. It's very clear he was part of this. I've got, I keep getting more and more text messages every day. Boom, boom, boom. So Shad White is, I mean, he's not being friendly, but as far as he's concerned, he's stomping out corruption. He's exposing corruption. He's doing his job. He doesn't have to be nice about it as far as he's concerned, but it's interesting. And then, Shannon Sharp and Pat McAfee, who are former NFL players who have, their own, I don't know, they have podcasts or something, some TV shows, different things that they are on. And all they did was report on this and said that Brett Favre was taking money from the well,
hear me out here.
Okay.
I'm gonna out myself as something of a Pat McAfee fan.
Okay.
Do I agree with him politically? Do I agree with almost any of his takes? No. Is he so funny? Yes. He's awesome. He's so freaking hilarious. But he never really reports on these things and just reads the facts, right? He'll say things like, well, he's basically taking food out of the mouths of starving babies. He'll say shit like that. So you've got to. Do I think Brett Favre is going to win this case? No. However, Pat McAfee can exaggerate. So I don't know exactly what he said there, but I highly doubt, unless it was played as a joke, Pat McAfee read facts, right? I could see him reading facts and then looking up from the sheet and being like, coming back.
Brett Favre's a real piece of something.
He's not going to win that case. I do have a small gripe, which is like sometimes people will respond to a filing from a lawyer as that's what Brett Favre is saying. And it's like, that's what the lawyer's saying. And the lawyer's trying to make a case, but it's not really what Brett Favre is saying. And it's the lawyer's job to spin the most, especially in the very beginning, right? In all these cases, you spin the most outrageous version of claims in order to set your sights far out so that when negotiations come in to reasonable, they go out there. That's also why DAs charge people for ridiculous shit from the jump, is that you're setting it. It's like you're starting a bargaining process. I got frustrated in that there was a case with a shooting recently. Was it the Connecticut, the Sandy Hook one? There's a case recently where a gun manufacturer is being sued, and there was a big article about it, about how the gun manufacturer said in court that they shouldn't need to pay pain and suffering because there was no pain of the victims in advance of dying, which is obviously absurd. But that was said by a lawyer in a court that was making a set of arguments. The gun manufacturer didn't say that. And they're like, it's disgusting that Remington, it was not Remington. It's disgusting that Remington says this. They should be drawn and quartered. And you're like, they didn't say it. It's a courtroom.
Yeah, but
you didn't say that.
Yeah, is your lawyer speaking on your behalf? Are they?
They're speaking on behalf of your interests, right? They're not speaking on your behalf, right? It's your lawyer's purpose to say shitty things in pursuit of your interests, right? That it is not a lawyer's job, unless they think it's good for your case, to be understanding of the pain of victims. It's a legal case. This is arguing. The rules are off. You don't have to be nice anymore. Well, you can't make good arguments because it'll hurt the feelings of dead people. Absolutely.
Yeah,
it just will look bad.
At the end of the day, if you make an argument that's that salacious, egregious, terrible, however you want to think about it, does that not ultimately hurt your client because now they think that you are a piece of shit? I mean, that's what's happening to Brett Favre, right? Everybody thinks he's a piece of shit.
In this case, it was just about the legal definition of pain and suffering. They're trying to get out of pain and suffering on a technicality. All right, well, you've got to argue it. It's a line of arguing that can get a bunch of money thrown out. Lawyers make shitty arguments all the time. It's yeesh. All right. I don't know. That's a little bit of a tangent. Brett Favre.
Brett Favre. Yeah, Brett Favre has filed twice. And one of them, again, was just last month in February. He wants the case thrown out again, of him by the Mississippi Department of Human Services because he's being vilified to cover up their own misdeeds. I don't actually disagree with that. I don't think it should be thrown out, but I do think they're trying to cover up their own misdeeds. They aren't going deep enough.
I absolutely think that they found an opportunity with Brett Favre taking heat for this to redistribute heat from the state. Mm-hmm. I think they did. Do I think Brett Favre deserves heat? Yeah.
Yes.
But he was not even, it didn't even really seem like he was the main player in all of this.
He wasn't. He was a little pushy.
An existing, terrible, corrupt loophole. Shouldn't
exactly.
have been, he was.
Yep, he was. He should have known what that money was for and not, that's not what it's for, man. That's not what it's for. It's not. But the bigger problem is, why wasn't it, to me, if you had 11,000 people apply for assistance and you only gave assistance to 167 people, who's making those decisions? You know, you've got no problem giving it for this other stuff. Why can't a regular person who actually needs help get the money that they need for their children? Because that's part of it. You have to have children to even access this money, allegedly.
Yeah, that really is the story, and I think that's the depressing part of all of this, is that Brett Favre deserves heat, but if we're really trying to find the true problem of all this and where change needs to be made, it's something that feels like a footnote of the whole story, which is how many people are able to access help in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And that is depressing.
Yeah, I mean, it's so depressing because I don't know if you've, I'm sure you have because of your job doing grants, but just in general, like if you've ever filled out an application for something where you're asking for something and it is just so difficult to even fill it out. You know, have we made it impossible to fill out? And so we're rejecting them for, you know, oh, well, you didn't fill this blank out. You didn't provide this document. You didn't do X, Y, or Z, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's on you. I'm not going to follow up with you. Bye. You know, is it something simple like that, which isn't simple? And 167 people were the only ones that were able to follow all the way through, or maybe once they got denied, they made the phone call and they said, I shouldn't be denied. I meet all the criteria. Why are you denying me? You know, were they just the pushy people that got through? You have no idea. We have no idea.
Yeah. I don't know. That sucks.
It does. It does. With the amount of money that is given to help Mississippi, to know that so little of it goes to the people that need the help. Gross.
And who talks about Mississippi? You know, who talks about them? Because here's the thing. It's neither Republicans nor Democrats. It's neither of the services, right? New York Times only talks about liberal cities, but fucking Fox also only talks about liberal cities, just saying they're bad.
Mm-hmm.
And no one talks about these places. No one talks about Mississippi, man. The only time people talk about Alabama is, to
make fun of it.
College football. Yeah.
College
football or incest. Alabama. Florida has cities, so we talk about Florida. It's also, it used to be a swing state. And so it's just ripe for being taken advantage of, man. Oklahoma, Arkansas. And what are you going to do? The Republicans don't demand of their own leaders and their own media that they focus on the things that are impacting their constituents, right? They just want the opposing party to be vilified. And that is frustrating.
Exactly. We just want to point out how the other side isn't helping them, not how our side isn't either.
Oh yeah, New York media talks about New York pretty much the whole time. Okay. And it's sort of nice. Everyone knows everything about politics here, like local politics. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah.
Try and find a New Yorker that doesn't know who the governor is, But we didn't even know the name of the Mississippi governor. That man is fumbling.
That was the last governor, but the one now is pretty terrible. So I think it's Reeves. Reeves.
What Reeves?
Oh, I don't know.
See? Kathy Hochul. I can spell it. I don't know if I can pronounce it.
I know Ellie would know because she really hates him. So. like, his name is this.
Oh, no. That's the mayor, Eric Adams.
Oh.
Kathy Hochul is a woman and is the governor.
No. The LA that lives here in Mississippi. That's.
Oh shit! I thought you were talking about it. Ellie.
No.
You're saying Ellie.
No, other Ellie.
I live with Ellie.
Well, she goes by Ellie, so I don't know. She hates the governor of Mississippi.
My dog is whining, and I must take him out.
Listen, we covered the whole topic.
We hit it. Mostly you hit it. I don't know why I even did research.
Oh, well, I feel like you would have corrected me if I was wrong about something.
But no. Just brought in my grant writing expertise, and was mad.
No, but yeah, your grant writing was relevant though, because I really think it ties together just how easy it is.
It really is
to misuse funds.
And in the end, everyone says that nothing is as good for a grant as knowing the grant officers or the people in charge of the grant. And that's always the case. It doesn't really have that much to do with what you write if you know them. So.
Ugh.
Well, guys, thank you for coming. Thank you for taking time out of your MLB opening day to listen to stuff about Brett Favre. I know that you're all watching your Cubs and your Mets and your other 28 irrelevant teams. I hope you had a good time talking about corruption and hearing about that Trump indictment. Boop, 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 boop. I bet we lost Pineapple Yates on that one. But it was a good time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Should we sing it out?
Oh, should we sing it out, or should the Mets?
Oh, okay. The Mets can sing it out. Nobody can see your gorgeous hair yet.
Well, that's why I'm not going to press end broadcast until it goes to our faces.
Oh.